on, silencers, and welcome back to Radio Silence, the podcast where you get to ask me questions, from personal to political and honestly anything in between. If you have the balls to ask a question, you have the responsibility to stomach an answer, and the only stupid question is one that goes unasked. Now, today's question is not particularly philosophical, if you will. It's more of a matter of opinion, and for that reason, I've actually brought in a friend of mine, Stone, from the podcast Foundations of Truth, and he's going to be helping us answer this question because he has a little more passion and hope in it than I do. So, Stone, would you like to introduce yourself? Say hello.
Hey, Cass, great to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to answer this question.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Now, today's question comes from the question master on my Discord, Clueless God 97. Thank you very much for asking yet another amazing question. And for information on how to submit your own question, stay tuned to the end of the podcast and I will go over that with you. But without any further ado, let's get into today's question. Now, today's question, like I said, submitted on my Discord by Clueless God 97 is, what is it about the human space endeavors that you find most exciting? For instance, with JUICE, Artemis, and SpaceX making tremendous movement in space exploration for humanity recently, which one are you most interested? Or what would you like to see in the space race happen in your lifetime? Now, personally, I'm not as interested in this, so I'm actually going to turn the floor over to Stone for a moment and hear what you have to say about it, and then I'll throw in my 2 cents. So go ahead, Stone. What are you most excited about? What do you want to see?
Like I said, this is a great question, and I'm very passionate about this. So bear with me because this can get a little wild.
It's all right. Nerd out all you want. That's what we do here.
I love it. So, not too long ago, SpaceX did happen. And kind of sad that nobody really knew that it happened. On that day, I'm based here in Texas. And so on that day when it launched, you could see it launching from Florida. That just gives you an idea of how big it is. SpaceX is the biggest, I don't know, lack of a better word, spaceship that we've ever built. Bigger than any of the uh, Saturns that were built for the Apollo missions. And what they can do with this is amazing. This is the first rocket of its kind that has reusable parts. It can literally, its purpose is to fly up, take its journey into space and land on the moon, and then come back and self land. This is the first of its kind. And with that, its capability to do this, have reusable parts, and refuel up, come back, land, do it again is, in lack of a better word, earth shattering, one of a kind. And the fact that they just blew it up is kind of sad. Well, guess it's pays to be Elon Musk and have money and blow stuff up
Right.
for fun. Well, also, this is so key because SpaceX is what makes Star Trek possible. Because of this, we'll be able to start colonizing the moon. SpaceX is so big you can throw other pieces of spaceships on it, launch it, and then start colonizing the moon. And then from there, you can start colonizing the rest of the last frontier, if you will. This is key. It's one of a kind. Super excited for it. It's one of my now bucket lists to actually be in space and just look out there and see God's creation and be like, holy cow, this actually exists. This is amazing. So, this is literally the first of many steps to colonizing outer space.
That is awesome. You're absolutely right. So, a little bit of statistics on SpaceX for you. So, the Saturn V rocket was 363 feet tall, and it had a diameter of about 33 feet. It weighed 207 tons before you put the fuel in, and its payload capability was about 118 tons max. Its thrusters had 9 million pounds of thrust, and it could hold 3 people. It was run on a rocket fuel that consisted of kerosene, liquid hydrogen, and liquid oxygen, and was made mostly of aluminum, titanium, and asbestos. Now, this was the most amazing rocket we had ever made at the time, and it was huge, absolutely massive. The SpaceX Starship is 394 feet tall, so quite a bit bigger. It's actually a little thinner. It's only 30 feet in diameter. It weighs 330 tons, so it is a beefy ship. With a maximum payload of 165 tons, that's what makes it so possible to put other spaceships inside of it and take them up into orbit or beyond. It can hold a maximum of, can you guess how many passengers, Stone?
I can't.
So the Saturn V could hold 3. The SpaceX spaceship can hold 100 passengers on top
What?
of its payload of 165 tons of cargo, and has an engine thrust nearly 3 times the Saturn V rocket at 16.9 million pounds. Oh, 2 times. Sorry, 2 times at 16.5 million pounds. Don't judge me on my math. I'm not a astronaut or anything like that. It also runs completely off of liquid methane, which is a more efficient fuel, allowing them to take slightly less fuel and getting the same delta V out of it. For those of you who don't know space terms, don't worry, I don't either. I just play Kerbal Space Program. Delta V is basically the amount of thrust that you have in a rocket that is capable of changing your vector, so your direction and your speed at the same time. It's mostly made out of stainless steel as well, and as we all know, Elon Musk is the mastermind, well, sort of, behind it. I've watched a couple of the interviews that he's had with it and how he screwed up some measurements or screwed up some basic math, and like he realizes it. It's fun to watch him work because he's like, oh yeah, and we did this. Wait, I'm a freaking idiot. And then he would fix it by the time the next interview came around. But yeah, so the SpaceX, you're absolutely right. It is an amazing vessel. But you mentioned specifically like being able to colonize like the moon and maybe beyond. Would you, Stone, in your opinion, say that something like SpaceX would be just a stepping stone to that, or that we'd actually be able to use specifically the SpaceX rocket to do that, to colonize the moon, for instance?
Very good question. I think it's that and all the above. SpaceX will, in the future, basically become the grandfather. To us, it's new right now. It'll get to the point where we'll be launching these spaceships and it'll just be like, oh, yeah, another one just launched. Well, right now we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But yes, this one will actually be used for the actual transportation thereof. So when we start doing this colonization, which it's a possibility to be used for that, we can go there on the moon. And then right after that, we can now put the first man or woman on Mars and plant the flag. That's amazing. And this SpaceX is going to be all the above.
Awesome. So I know that one of the major things in space travel is um, mining, is like mining and asteroid, what is it called? I can't remember. Asteroid capture or asteroid tethering. I think that's what it's called. It's asteroid tethering. Um, do you think that the SpaceX rocket will allow us to start doing things like that, or are we still kind of a few steps away from that, you think? I'm specifically
I,
talking
hon-
about getting out to the asteroid belt and pulling masses of iron and stuff closer to Earth for excavation.
I honestly think it's it will soon be within our capabilities to do just that. So not only will be able to transport to start colonization, but yeah, then we can also start finding additional resources and using those to our benefit. So yes.
That's awesome. Because what we're running into with the SpaceX is, I mean, it uses liquid methane, which is great. We can organically produce methane. A cow farts, hell, a human farts, and that's methane. You compress that down, you cool it down, you get liquid methane. But we are going to run into the point where it's just not cost effective to fuel up a ship and send it space side off planet, and there are supposedly billions of asteroids and comets and other celestial bodies in our asteroid belt that are made up of methane and hydrogen and a couple, things that usually don't freeze on Earth because it's not particularly cold. Not particularly cold here. I say that as some of my subscribers are still in, feet of snow up in Canada and stuff like that. But yeah, that's so. I guess I should probably answer this question now. That's kind of what I'm excited for. I'm excited for being able to, for lack of a better word, and one that sounds a lot less evil mastermind, I'm excited to be able to exploit the entire galaxy, our entire solar system, at least. But branching out into the galaxy, I'm sure there's elements out there that we haven't ever discovered. There might be an energy solution just beyond our solar system that's just a few molecules will put off so much energy that it can power the Earth forever or something like that, just because we physically can't produce it in our little corner of creation or actuation, if you will, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You had joked about makes Star Trek possible, and that this was the final frontier, and it really is. Space is the final frontier, and one of the interesting things that they talk about in Star Trek is actually in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. The first one is called Omega. They come across the Voyager is traveling in the Delta Quadrant, so it's some billion light years away from Earth, and they are flying through space. It's a peaceful day, and all of a sudden the Greek symbol for Omega shows up on the view screen, and it says Omega Protocol initiated, and the captain gets called into her office. It comes out that there is a particle, a single molecule called an Omega particle, that can release more energy than a sun in its entire life. And if they ever come up, that captains and above in Starfleet are trained to go and destroy them immediately. That's how dangerous they are. They can wipe out entire solar systems in an instant. So whenever the sensors on the ship pick up one, it initiates this protocol that the captain's not supposed to tell anybody. They're just supposed to go take care of it. But seeing as, they're far away from home, she tells the whole crew, blah, blah, blah. They learn about it. But something like that Omega particle, it could exist out there. So how cool would it be if just beyond the reach of where we can currently go, the answer to every problem is there? Infinite energy, or nearly limitless energy. Energy that has a return on it that physically we can't reproduce on this planet. Like, that's what I'm excited about. But if I had to pick something that I would really like to see in my lifetime, I would love for there to be 3 planetary governments: the Earth government, the Earth Alliance, the Lunar Alliance, and the Martian Alliance. And to have peace, or at least cooperation, between 3 different planets. Because, we can't seem to do it on our own planet. We can't get along with the people who live right across the street, let alone, 2 countries over. Maybe, and I'm not saying separate like races or religions or anything like that and putting them on 3 different planets. This isn't Starship Troopers. But how cool would it be if your brother specifically, I know you have a brother, but your brother and his wife, what if they were contractors on the moon, lunar contractors. They were responsible for construction there. And so on a holiday, instead of going to Maui, you went to the largest crater on the moon, where they had constructed this entire sprawling artificial ecosystem where humans, well, aliens, could enjoy themselves. Because anybody born on the moon would technically be an alien, and anybody born on Mars would also be a Martian. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd love to see 3 different planets in our own solar system working together, 3 independent governments, because governing multiple planets, that's out of our capabilities. We can't even govern multiple cities in our own damn country. So anyway, now that I've taken a breath, is there anything else that you would like to add, Stone?
Oh, yes, very much so.
All right, well, let us hear it.
So when you talk about the energy, that is so true. The idea that that a infinity stone actually exists out there is
Yeah,
really cool. For us here on Earth right now, we know that the best sustainable energy that we don't really use is nuclear. That stuff is stupid powerful, and that's just here.
yeah,
Imagine just what you're talking about, going out there and finding this new energy or materials that, you can build vehicles out of lighter, stronger, faster, quicker. That's really cool. And then also when you're talking about being able to go to the moon, when and working there, when you look at the testimonies of those who did land on the moon, what they saw, what they brought back, how hot and cold and different it was there, that's just exciting of itself, and it makes me wanna go and just be like, "I wanna see this for myself," and then how well this can
yeah.
benefit humanity. Then the last point I'll make on this is when you talk about the, uh, price of rockets and such like that, how it's pretty expensive right now. SpaceX is going to make it either right now they charge um, about 100,000, 1,000 per pound or per ounce.
That sounds right.
SpaceX is going to make it 50 cents per pound or per ounce. So it's going to get very effective to do this now. That's what they're going to do with this. And that's just, so it's no longer going to be like, oh, only elites can go up into space. No, the common man can go up there.
Yeah, I mean, granted, my ass would cost about 3 times what yours would, but still, honestly, that would be fair. If there was a chance for me to orbit this planet, just to piss off every flat earther I've ever met, or zoom past the moon for just a long weekend, I would pay through the nose, man. Granted, $100,000 is a little out of my league, but if I only had to pay like $1,200 or something, I'm on the next spaceship.
So a while back ago, one of the games you previewed on your channel was Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Uh huh.
And seeing that, that just even got me more jazzed. I don't know how many of your followers, I'm probably in the minority here. I loved Call of Duty Infinite Warfare just for the sole fact that you got to go into space.
Oh yeah, didn't you get to play Space Force in that for a little while?
Yeah. Yeah. So Space Force like actually happened. And it was so much fun. But that's just another possibility. And what they did in that game was actually pretty cool, trying to make it a future that was possible. So
Yeah,
when you see the game that you played, it's like, this is not some million-year thing. No, this is, if it's applied right, kind of around the corner. And so I'm
yeah,
just excited for the possibilities are numberless.
yeah. I know what you mean. I think that's what is kind of getting to me, because we had talked previously, I believe, on your podcast about how we went from the first flight of the Kitty Hawk to the moon in less than 60 years. Like, since, I mean, think about it. if we're able to commercialize and or privatize space travel, like we're trying to do right now with SpaceX, in 60 years, it's not going to be all that strange to consider that we could have entire colonies living on space stations around the planet, or entire colonies on the border of the moon between the light and dark side, or like you were saying, a Mars colony. Put people on the planet. Arnold Schwarzenegger is my first vote. He's been there before.
I knew you were gonna go with there. I was like, "Please say it."
Yes, yes. And plus, I would vote him to be president of that world. Just saying. Then he could be
I don't
president
know.
because one of the rules is that you can't be an alien to be president, but there wouldn't be any natives, so it could only be aliens that were president.
You have a good point there. I was gonna recommend you, but you took me with your logic.
I don't want to go to Mars.
The force is strong with this one.
Yes. No, I don't want to go to Mars. If I was to go to any of the planets in our system, I would want to go to Jupiter personally. I would be very interested in studying Jupiter up close. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. Like I said, I could nerd about this for a while. Yeah, it was interesting what you were saying about Hard Space Shipbreaker. Like, plausible. It's not a pipe dream. It's not, granted, like, taking the technology aside, like the lasers, sure, but it's not unfeasible that we could be doing that in 50 years. Not even that. Where we'll
the
have,
job is
the job itself. They'll have people who actually have to do these jobs off world because there's such infrastructure in place for it. And I think that's just cool.
agreed.
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer because I know how busy you can be. And I don't have anything to do except for things like this. So thank you very much for joining us today, Stone. I do hope to have you back if we have any questions that come up that you want to answer.
Oh, of course. I'm always happy to come back.
Perfect. Thank you. And for any of you out there that want to ask a question, there are 3 different ways that you can submit a question. The best way is to join my Discord, which links will be in my bio. The second best way is to email me at my business email, also linked in my bio, but it's Control-Alt-Silent, CTRL-ALT, SILENT @gmail.com. Or send me a DM on Twitter at Control-Alt-Silent, spelled the same way. Just remember, if you have the balls to ask a question, you have the responsibility to stomach an answer. And the stupidest question is the one that goes unasked, because even if the answer is wrong, we both learn something. But I won't keep you any longer. Thank you very much for watching and liking. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.